Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
All right, so after the game last night, Rye, we received some news, some extra news, some special news. Let's go over to the index. ESPN sent an alert out. It said that Syracuse coach Felisha Legette-Jack says it's unacceptable that the Orange were in UConn's region for fifth time in 7 tourney appearances, and she called it a personal. She said it's a personal attack. So we're going to have a listen to exactly the words that came from her in the press conference after the game last night. Let's take a listen.
It touched my heart and helped me speak kindly about this opportunity, but also have a responsibility. And when I tell my players to woman up, I think I have to do the same thing. And for us to be coming from a 12 and 16, 18, whatever season last year, okay, let's judge me on this season. For us to do what we've done, to continuously have to come to UConn and every single school that I go to, from Buffalo to it's unfair to the young people. I don't know what it is. Somebody said, is there something that they might have against me? If that's the case, then we need to communicate about that. But for us to be what we've done in our body of work, to have to come and play that best team in the country. I mean, Gino has this thing going, and I love what he's done, but I thought, deserved a little more respect after being in this business for 37 years, and to have to come and be in this particular bracket every freaking year is unacceptable. It's wrong. It's somebody, and if you're on the committee and you've been around for more than a year or two or 5 to 10 or 15 years, you understand what that looks like. I've been on those committees to see how it's done, how you can put people on different lines, put us on a 10 line, whatever. But for us to continue to come to Connecticut year after year after year is, to me, it's a personal attack, because I just think that we are way better than what we perform today. But I think what you're going to notice, that everybody that come through Gino and UConn is going to get the raft of what they can bring. I just know.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack in that one. Rye, come to you on this Tuesday, fresh off of that second round win. But I had to tell you that this is literally a team that just a couple years ago when Paige Beckers was here, and I almost forgot during the last check-in, right, that we had that this was a Syracuse Orange team that nearly defeated UConn in the same round 2 years ago, second round, 72-64. It was UConn, and who else was the hero that evening, that night? Paige Beckers, right? Paige Beckers. So I think, first of all, I don't know. I'll give you some time to speak on this. There's so much that I could say, but I'll leave it to you. A lot of it. First of all, they're a personal attack. I kind of want to agree with her, but I kind of don't, because the harsh reality of it is you most likely could be under a personal attack, right? I don't think people are going to be brave enough to come out and actually say it. So I think that could be swept off the table. And I get it. She wants to talk about that. She wants somebody to come out and say that if they do have a problem with her, because she's been through it. Let's face it. She's been through what? She was hired at Indiana, I think, 2 years. They fired her. They said it was a mistake. I mean, come on, man. But she has been through it. She knows she's a big push on diversity. So I have a lot of respect for this woman. We can't just sit here and be like, she's blaming the NCAA and that. I mean, she has a point. She has a point. But I want to see what everybody else says, which way they agree. Do they agree, disagree, and what side, especially you take. But I think, what's beautiful about this all goes back. Now, she didn't mention anything to do with this. This all goes back even to me, right? Even to me. I want to see some more people out there admit it. I want to see maybe you admit it, but I don't think that you was in the same boat as I was. I thought when Paige Beckers was gone, that it was kind of not totally just okay, they'll be falling all the way down. No, this is UConn, but let's face it, I think this really goes into the fact that when Paige was gone, there's a lot of people in this country who thought, Paige come up hero with the cape on so many nights, especially 2 years ago against the same head coach, same Syracuse Orange team. Now, maybe some names are gone, but they thought, Paige is out. Oh, yeah. A lot of other teams are going to get way better. But guess what, Ryan? That wasn't the case.
Yeah, I think certainly, when Paige left, I mean, she was the best player on the team, no doubt, and one of the best UConn Huskies to ever do it, like we've said multiple times. But yeah, I think a lot of people and a lot of teams got put on notice this year when UConn performed so well. But yeah, like you said, I have a lot of respect for Coach Jack as well. She's a great
Mm-hmm.
coach that knows the game. When she became a head coach at Hofstra and then went
Mm-hmm.
to Indiana, she struggled a bit, not very
Yeah.
good records coaching on those teams, but she did have great success with Buffalo and then now returning, of course, to her alma mater, Syracuse, where she's won 20 plus games in all 4 years now with the Orange. So she definitely knows how to recruit talented players and build a team that's competitive. And with all that being said, though, I don't really agree with most of the comments she made after their loss to UConn yesterday and that clip that we just watched. I understand it's frustrating that Syracuse has lost to UConn in five of its last seven tournament appearances, and Coach Jack has lost to UConn three times now in the tournament, once with Buffalo, twice with Syracuse. But I just don't agree with her saying it's a personal attack on her or that someone on the committee might be targeting her. I just don't agree with that at all, and I don't really get where she's coming from on that perspective, but the way the women's tournament is structured is a little different to the men because the top seeds in the region get to play their first and second round games at home on the women's side. Now, I believe that's to try to limit some of the travel, or that's the main reason. And I think the committee obviously has a very hard job and does try to match up teams that are in close proximity, let's say no more than 4 to 5 hours away from one another, to try to limit some of the travel. But to me, there's only so many things the committee can do to try to make it as fair as possible, to rank all these teams and to give them the seed that they actually deserve. And I also think Coach Jack saying her team could have gone farther and they're way better than that performance yesterday. I do definitely agree with that part as a pretty good Syracuse team. But say they went up against any of the other three number one seeds. For me personally, I still don't think they would have won. Now, it could have been a much closer game. So for me, I understand some of what Coach Jack is saying, and I definitely get the frustration of playing a great team like UConn this year and then 2024. But I don't agree with her saying it's a personal attack on her or the girls that play for Syracuse.
No, I agree. I kind of, like I said, I want to take both sides all the time, but yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards you. But let's face it, a lot of emotions always, especially if you're on the losing side in any sport, a lot of emotions come out in that press conference
Yeah.
room. So again, we've seen it all. How many times have you seen just, set the microphone down, walk out? At least she has, again, when it comes to press conferences, oh, I'm sure that you and I think that a lot of other people who are diehard sports fans, they need to start watching the press conferences more because I know it's usually the same. You talk about it's the same questions asked over and over again, Phil. But every once in a while, you'll see a reaction that you haven't seen before. You'll see a question. You'll hear a question. You'll hear a response that you had. It makes you think a little bit more. So we appreciate everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe. But actually, Raj, she was there in Indiana, Legette-Jack, that is from '06 to 2012. So I was wrong. It was more than 2 years. But I don't know where I got 2 years from. But then, of course, she Hofstra, you mentioned, '02 to '06. And then she was at Michigan State as an assistant from 2000 to '02. So, yeah, I mean, ACC Coach of the Year in 2024. So she has it, right? She has it. She knows what she's saying. But last night, it'd definitely be, and she admitted in the beginning there was something like what, she prayed to God or something. Because she really, I don't think she really wanted to come out and say that. But
Yeah.
sometimes if it's on your mind, if it's in your mouth, hey, you gotta say how you feel. That's just the way it is. But when you look at this roster, Ryan, it looks like that were they? I mean, it looks like they're pretty deep as far as a lot of players got minutes for Syracuse last night. And when I go back and look at the roster for the 2024, did I say 2024 game 2 years ago?
Right.
It
Yeah.
looks like that they weren't that deep on the bench. Of course, they did have their starters here: Latham, Wood, Burrows, Woolley, and Fair. And I'm sure you and I did cover that one for sure. I don't. Again, just going back to the game last night, and I'm sure Coach would agree. The Syracuse coach would agree with this. That was an embarrassment. Now UConn, this is not taking anything away from the UConn Huskies because UConn, this is I strongly believe they're better than any team we saw when Paige was there. Now they have unfinished business to do, but Ryan, to me, this was and I thought about this last night, but I didn't really want to touch the topic, but I will now since Coach talked last night in the press conference. Syracuse, that was a complete embarrassment. Should I thought the game would have been a lot closer? Yes, for sure. This team is really good, but yeah, to me that was just a case of complete embarrassment if you're a Syracuse fan. And I'm saying that in all good intention because I thought for sure it would be a fight.
Yeah, I certainly, like I said during the last check-in, Syracuse looked like a pretty good team, and I thought perhaps they could have been a higher seed, but they did kind of struggle during this regular season against the tougher teams that they did play, or the higher level teams, like the quad two or three,
Yeah.
how they rank them. But yeah, I think, just going back to 2024 that UConn team that year was still fairly good. But comparing that team to the UConn team this year, I think this team is a lot better compared to that one. Even though they did have Paige Beckers, but I just think the depth for this UConn team is a lot more than what that one was. But for sure, it definitely wasn't an embarrassment last night for Syracuse, working hard the whole season, and then to have that unfortunate performance against UConn. But it is a tough place to play in Gamble Pavilion and going up against a team like that. So I believe it was their worst tournament loss in program history for Syracuse. So it's definitely a tough pill to swallow. And like I said, I understand the frustration there, and I'm sure a lot of emotions for all the girls and I believe four seniors on that Syracuse team who's probably going to be their last game, and for Coach Jack to coach that team and bring some of the girls in for the transfer portal to play with her. I'm sure it's an emotional time right after the game and giving the press conference speech like that.
I know we usually get into comments, Rob, but we will save the comments for the last two videos. We'll give them more time to comment on the video last night. So with that said, drop your comments below in this section. Hopefully it blows up with a lot of opinions. Can't wait to hear what they have to say. And Rye, I will see you for the last check-in against UNC coming up this week. Phil and Rye on Listen Up.